this is Steve Halleck of TickTocking. As always, you can find me at Steve Halleck on Instagram and at TickTocking.com for my inventory. Today I have a really cool watch. You guys know that I love Greubel Forsey. To me, these are the best watches in the world. They are just finished to a level that nothing else is. And I'm not sure how well that comes across in video. I kind of do the best that I can. To some extent, you really need to see them in person. And you may also need to see a lot of other watches. I mean, it's one of those things where obviously I see a lot of watches. And because of that, when something is just a cut above, it really stands out. Whereas, most of the stuff that I review is of course, extremely high quality, and viewed on its own, it looks spectacularly good. But these are just even another level above. The watch today is, I believe, the most limited edition that they make. This is the Quadruple Tourbillon Secret. The secret means that it has a complete dial, so the tourbillons are only visible from the back. For those of you who have been around this hobby and industry for as long as I have, you may remember that tourbillons were really not a thing at all until the 2000s. And they started coming out a little bit more often. And at that time, most of the discussions took place like on a few of these big watch forums that I've talked about earlier. And there was always a pretty vocal percentage of people that were not into the idea of cutting a hole in the dial to view this tourbillon mechanism. And of course, famously, Patek Philippe has never made a visible tourbillon. There are a lot of examples of this, right? But a lot of people thought it was a little bit, I don't know, not very classy, a little bit over the top, a little bit sort of like nouveau riche, not cool to do. So Greubel Forsey, of course, their whole thing is tourbillons, crazy mechanisms with tourbillons and multiple ones and ones at different angles and whatever. And the big daddy of all of those is the quadruple tourbillon with the central differential. But they've kind of made a nod to their collectors who think it's cool to be a little bit under the cuff, pun intended, and to keep this to themselves a bit, not show off all their whirligags and who's a what's it and stuff. And so they made this Quadruple Tourbillon Secret model. And the effect is really cool. I particularly like how it becomes such an incredibly wearable watch. It's so legible. It's something that I really could wear almost every day, and people generally wouldn't have that much attention on it other than the fact that it's gold and a gold watch. But it's not going to catch everybody's eye the way that an open quad would. And even for the wearer, even if you're not out, it somehow makes it feel very sleek, and it just makes the watch wear really easily, while knowing that you still have one of the most insane pieces of horology ever created on your wrist. So let me dig in and show this thing to you, and I hope you like it as much as I do. So here's the big daddy itself. This is amazingly one of the most complex and yet simplest Greubel Forseys to wear, and we're just gonna dig straight into it. We may as well start at the back. And back here you have the quadruple tourbillon, as mentioned. Now, let's go over what we're looking at here. So around the edge there, you'll see parallel to the dial plate, this big wheel. And that's one tourbillon that's rotating once every 4 minutes, okay? And then inside, or you can see on this one, there's a second tourbillon. It is inclined at 30 degrees to the first, and it rotates once every minute. So each of those is considered a double tourbillon, and there's 2 of them. So 2 doubles equals a quadruple. And they are connected via a central differential, which is that gold wheel that you can see there. And that averages out the rates of the two. So if you look closely, you can see the bottom, this tourbillon, connected to the bottom gear there, and this tourbillon connected to a top gear. You see how that differential is 2 stacked gears. So that averages out the rates, and in that way you get these 4 tourbillons all averaged out to 1 rate. And of course, this traditional Greubel Forsey finishing where you have this insane high quality black polish, this perfect frosting, beveling, internal angles that are just perfect. Really stunning to behold. And you get to see it with its one open part, which is over here on the side. And there's the 4-minute tourbillon, and you'll see as the inclined portion of it comes around here. But that's the only hint from, while it's on the wrist, that anything crazy is going on. So let's look at the dial. The dial, of course, this is the secret. So it is not cut out. And it makes for a really interesting wearing experience. It definitely is like way more kind of chill on the wrist, easier to wear, much less busy. You don't have a bunch of things in your face ticking away all the time. And it almost makes the watch feel smaller. I have much less attention on it when it's on my wrist. And of course the black dial helps with that too. Black dials always make things look a little bit smaller. It's definitely not a simple dial by any means, and you can see the dial is actually made out of gold, and it is multi-stepped, so you do still have a lot of depth to it. You see these rings and different finishes and different things going on, and the hands are used really cleverly to give you information as to what's going on these tourbillons. So let's go through them and I'll explain what each one is. So this one you can see goes around in 240 seconds, which is 4 minutes. So this is actually geared off the outer tourbillon of this one over here, obviously. And that tells you, okay, good, this is my 4-minute tourbillon. This one here, you can see is broken down into 0, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes. So this is on the inner tourbillon, and then also obviously rotates around as it rotates. But here you can see what's happening with the inner 1-minute tourbillon. Each time it goes between one of these, you have a rotation of the second inner tourbillon. So this is tourbillon 1, its outer tourbillon, and this is tourbillon, maybe we call it 4, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, the inner tourbillon of the second going. So you get one of the outers, one of the inners, and then up here you have power reserve up on that side, but this seconds is geared off of the differential itself, and this gives you your averaged rate. So this is your actual seconds when taken after averaging the rate from this grouping and this grouping. So you really see everything that's going on with this incredibly complex mechanism, even without looking at the tourbillons themselves. And so you kind of have the best of both worlds here. Otherwise, the dial is, kind of classic, as one would say. It does have the what has kind of become Greubel Forsey's signature of these secret messages, but it is engraved in black on this kind of inner thing. So it serves really to just break up this negative space a little bit and help with the aesthetics of the dial, but to continue the Greubel Forsey design language here. It's incredibly legible, obviously with gold markers on a black dial. You can't get much more contrast than that. And so it all serves to make this, maybe the easiest Greubel Forsey to actually wear. This could totally be like a daily wearer for somebody who can wear a gold watch daily, but most people wouldn't know that it's anything necessarily special, and that is why it is the secret. You can see here there's a plaque that gives the number. This is, I believe, the most limited Greubel Forsey limited edition piece. Of course, they've done some piece uniques, But when they do a series, they normally do 11 pieces. Even in each of the invention pieces, they're of 11 pieces. And this one's only of 8. So let me show you the watch on the wrist. And maybe you can see, even on the video, what I'm saying about how it wears kind of small. Obviously, Greubel Forseys are not small watches, but the way that it is with the black dial, the gold case, and no cutouts, it sort of blends in. I don't know if blends is the right word, but it just gives the impression of a little bit smaller watch. It doesn't obviously draw nearly as much attention to itself. The case shape is a little bit less, I know a lot of people don't like the bubbles on Greubel Forseys. I happen to really like them. I think they're unique and they are kind of poetic as far as Greubel is concerned, showing a very classic watch like breaking out as they put their really modern mechanics into it. But it's much less in your face when they're not also cut out and spinning and doing all sorts of things. So in this case, it just hints at something interesting that's going on under the surface. And there you can see as you rotate, you do still get a little window as to what's going on. Of course, it is oriented towards the wearer, so even then, it is the owner's little secret here. So this is one not likely to come back around after it's sold. Only 8 pieces. These tend to get stocked away in good collections when they do get snapped up. But this is the Quadruple Tourbillon Secret from Greubel Forsey, and just a spectacular grail of horology that, I don't know, I get really excited when I get to bring stuff like this to you guys. So glad to share it and hope you enjoyed. Thanks.